Please be warned, today's episode is very dark and very heavy. Viewer discretion is advised. These people are practicing the occult.
Billionaire Jeffrey Epstein is expected to appear in federal court in Lower Manhattan tomorrow,
Using trauma-based mind control to release spirit energy.
How serious are these charges against Epstein?
Is Epstein going to cooperate? Because back in the day when he signed the non-prosecution agreement, it also protected co-conspirators.
The emails say these girls had psychic powers.
Agents hauled out multiple bags of evidence from disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Who knows what type of people may be involved in this conspiracy?
And he also had a lot of girls there all the time.
Great point. This guy's a billionaire with a lot of wealthy and high-profile friends. Should those people be worried about Epstein taking them down with him, Alex?
Jeffrey Epstein went from teacher to Wall Street to uber wealthy.
There is a secret religion being played out right before your eyes, and they're all in on it. And let me tell you that this goes deeper than you can ever imagine. This is some nasty, wicked stuff. And we'll tell you what we can and show you the connections to the mystery religion of today. There is a spiritual wickedness in high places. Well, thank you for watching today's episode of Spiritual Wickedness in High Places. This is your friend Spencer here. Go ahead and smite your like button and subscribe to this channel. That'll be a great blessing. As we deal further and further with this Epstein stuff, I want to tell you that man is depraved. Man is lost without God. Man is wicked. And there is really no bottom to the depravity of man. And every now and then, I believe probably every generation or so, we get a man who is the picture of that, who is the poster child for that. Aleister Crowley is a man who comes to mind. Attila the Hun. We get men like Ho Chi Minh and several other men through history who just seem to just drink deep from the depravity of human man, and they just decide that they're just going to do whatever they want. And I believe God turns them over to a reprobate mind, and they end up living a life of terrible sin, and they shall receive the greater condemnation for that. But as we examine our own culture that we live in today, I believe one of those men that we could point to and say that man's wicked is Jeffrey Epstein, of course. And so the million-dollar question is, what was going on at the island? Well, I think we all kind of sort of know that, but do we really? Do we know how deep it went? Do we know how bad it was? Well, I think that these Epstein files seem to give us some evidence that it's far worse than we could ever imagine. As we look through these Epstein files, and I see them all over, they're available on the Justice Department's website. You can go just in there, and I suggest that you pray before you go in there, because it is some crazy, dark stuff. But there have been people who have researched this full time, and they have brought up there are phrases in the Epstein files that are alarming. And even seated congresspeople who have seen the unredacted Epstein files have said that this is worse than they ever imagined. Now, one of the words that was in the Epstein files over and over and over again was the word pizza. And this is a Vanity Fair article that just came out just a few days ago. And it says right here, new Epstein files are reopening Pizzagate box, the Pizzagate box. And the documents contain nearly 900 references to pizza. Pizzagate was a conspiracy theory that emerged during the 2016 United States presidential election involving hacked emails from John Podesta, which I believe was Hillary Clinton's chief of staff at the time. And they were published online by WikiLeaks with Julian Assange. Online users on platforms like 4chan and Reddit claimed that references to pizzas and other food terms in the emails were coded messages for trafficking. The theory quickly centered on Comet Ping Pong, a Washington, D.C. pizzeria, which conspiracy promoters allege was the headquarters of a secret ring tied to the Democrat officials, including Hillary Clinton. No credible evidence, or so they say, ever substantiated these claims. The theory rapidly spread through social media, YouTube channels, and fringe news sites, and people who actually believed it argued that symbols in the restaurant's logo, Instagram's post, and artwork were secret signals. And letting people, and they tried to attempt to decode ordinary email language as criminal shorthand, that is how criminals operate. Law enforcement investigations supposedly found no evidence supporting the allegations. Nonetheless, the online amplification created real-world consequences. And December 2016, a North Carolina man by the name of Edgar Madison Welch entered Comet Ping Pong with a rifle to self-investigate the claims. No one was injured, and Welch was later arrested and sentenced to prison. Pizzagate has since become a case study on how online theories can escalate into offline harm, and it played a significant role in shaping later conspiracy movements, particularly the rise of QAnon. And by the way, you do realize Donald Trump is the QAnon president, and which expanded to similar themes about hidden elite networks of trafficking. While concerns about real human trafficking and legitimate are serious, these claims tying them to Comet Ping Pong and to Podesta emails were considered to be conspiratorial and baseless. Some would debate that. And I want to tell you that the idea of Pizzagate being a conspiracy theory years ago in 2016 and being dismissed as some sort of fringe, lunatic, nutty thing, well, if you go through the Epstein files, you'll see that there's a lot of references to pizza in these emails, to where it's disturbing. This is a email to Jeffrey Epstein on 2018, April 6, saying this is better than a Chinese cookie. Let's go for pizza and grape soda tonight. Again, no one else can understand. And another thing is a pizza order for Bobby Slayton. And then there's another email here. I want to let you know the crew really appreciated the pizza today. Thanks for letting us do that, from Roy and Stephanie Hodges. And some of that's just weird how they would word that. And people have questioned the authenticity of that. And another thing is a term out there called jerky. Now, jerky is, let me just read you the email. This is on November 16th, 2012. JoJo is here, and I will walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. Please, you just go on your own to Leon's office. Melanie is Leon's assistant. I will alert Melanie you are coming to see Jeffrey. That's just a weird thing to walk jerky over to Jeffrey. It seems to make no sense. And someone's named Francis Derby sent an email to somebody who is redacted there in the Epstein files. Just want to touch base about jerky. Jeffrey Epstein said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. And why would you send an email about jerky? I don't think I've ever sent an email to anybody about eating beef jerky ever in my life. I don't even know if I've sent a text message to somebody letting them know, and maybe even sent it from a staff person. Hey, email that person and let them know that I will be eating less beef jerky as time goes on. And the theory is that this is criminal shorthand or coded language for something else that they can't openly say. And the million-dollar question is, what is jerky? What is it? He says that said he has 6 bags of it in the freezer for his next trip. Who puts beef jerky in their freezer? I believe it should be enough to get him through. Any other questions, please let me know. And do you see how people are just running with this? It's almost as if we have no other choice here. What does that even mean? Another email here says, Francis has time to come tomorrow and show me how to make it jerky class, anyone. He will also bring you a taste of new jerky recipe from the restaurant and sends a warm hello. He's working at a restaurant called Cannibals and Cooks. Wait for it. Beef jerky and steak. Yeah, it's time for 3 p.m. tomorrow. If that's who names a restaurant that? And you'll see also here there's another pizza and grape soda email. Now, folks, this is very bizarre stuff. And when the government's not clear on what this all is, And you have people out there that are saying, like Cash Patel, that we have no evidence that anybody was ever trafficked to anybody else other than to himself. And we go through these emails and we find that there's this coded language. There's things like white tuna. There's a number of different coded words in these emails. Well, what are we supposed to think? Well, in this video here, I'm going to show you this. This is on Newsmax, and I believe it's Republican Representative Lauren Boebert. I believe she's out of Colorado. She's one of the few who's actually read the unredacted Epstein emails, along with Thomas Massey and a few others. And she suggests that this jerky code means that they were actually eating people. As wild as that is, that's what she is saying. We'll let her talk here.
That suggests Jeffrey Epstein and his associates could maybe even be engaging in some sort of consumption. Is that human consumption? Are there code words? There's a lot of talk of beef jerky. There's a restaurant called The Cannibal where the owner is listed in some of these documents. Now, that isn't a restaurant that is just proclaiming to serve human meat by any means. But some of this just, it seems that there's a lot of conspiracies that make you wonder. And I saw more emails about torture, and these coded conversations still have a very clear topic that torture was big. It was a big driver for them. And these were sick people doing very, very sick things.
Now, that is a seated, duly elected congresswoman who has read the unredacted files, and she is saying that it appears that this is what these people were doing. What a mess. Now, let me do this. This is where I want to go with this, and I want to, it is my belief from the evidence that I have that these people, and when I say these people, I mean this group, this network of people that Jeffrey Epstein ran with, that these were high-ranking occultists. These were wicked people beyond wicked people, people that worshipped Ashtoreth and Moloch. And I would have a hard time believing that if I was not a Bible-believing Christian. Go back and watch our video, I believe it was number 2 or 3, where we talked about Baal worship and Ashtoreth worship and what all that meant. And I do believe that that mystery religion, that God sent Joshua across the Jordan River into Canaan land saying to kill all of these people. I want them all dead. That religion has survived even today, and maybe even changed forms and syncretized itself into several different other forms of religion. I believe that religion is still alive and still well today, and I believe that Satan is the god of this world, and I believe that ultimately we think that politicians run the world, but at the end of the day, it's really Satan that runs the world. And so how do you climb this hierarchy that Satan runs and who is the god of this world? At the meantime, well, you must do something heinous. You must practice some sort of ritual. You must get involved in some sort of religious movement, and you must get involved with some sort of cult. And that's exactly what these people are doing. Now, the last thing that we see in these emails is something called grape soda. And I'm going to just show you the email again. This is the one that was from... we can't really see, but it was to Jeffrey Epstein. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. Now, at this point in the video, I'm just going to pause it and let you know that everything I'm going to say from here on forward is a theory that is being floated. Now, there are movie stars who are coming out and saying that this is exactly what people are doing. We will cite that other information for you. There are movie stars who are saying that people are actually doing this. But some people are suggesting that grape soda in the Epstein files is a code word for adrenochrome. And this is where it gets wild. Adrenochrome, if you're not up to speed on this, and I'm going to be very discreet with this because of the platform here, but there are people out there who believe that for example, the best way to illustrate this would be to illustrate it using a vampire. That I can get life by drinking or ingesting or taking in my body the blood of other people. There are warnings in the book of Leviticus about to the nation of Israel about the drinking of blood and such like, and that is because pagan rituals have always done that. I mean, you go to some far off island and they're wearing loincloths and bone and nose type stuff. I mean, there's always been historically pagan people who have done rituals like that where blood was a part of the sacrifice. And partaking blood and human sacrifices are part of the Aztec culture and Aztec religion and stuff like that. But these people are suggesting that grape soda in these Epstein files is code for adrenochrome. Now, let me read you this tweet right here. Adrenochrome is a real chemical compound, C9H9NO3, formed by the oxidation of adrenaline. In its pure form, it appears as a deep violet, or sometimes described as deep purple, crystalline solid, or powder. Now, isn't that a wild thing? Now here, all I did was just type in Google. I just said adrenochrome is purple and just hit AI mode, and this is what it pulled up for me. Correct. Pure adrenochrome is indeed characterized by deep violet or intense purple color. Its very name reflects this property, combining adreno from adrenaline with the Greek word chrome, meaning color. And here is how its color behaves in different states. Solid form, pure adrenochrome typically appears as a dark purple or deep violet crystals or powder. In solution, when dissolved, it often appears pink. And oxidation, if the compound continues to oxidize, it polymerizes into brown or black melanin-like substance, the effect sometimes seen medically as black cornea or dark deposits in patients using certain adrenaline-based eye drops. So this is a real substance, and it is actually pretty well known. And I'm just showing you this so that you realize the kind of the connections that people are making with all this. That when the Epstein files are posting saying, hey, let's go get some grape soda, some people are surmising that means let's go do some sort of blood magic adrenochrome ritual. Are they out of their mind in suggesting that? At this point with Epstein, I don't know if you can take anything off the table with this man. Do you believe he had moral limits? I don't think he did. Now, let me very discreetly explain to you what the theory is with adrenochrome. It's the idea that we're going to take somebody and we're gonna do something to them that makes their adrenaline run wild, okay? And whether that and that's not a good thing, okay? I'm very discreetly wording this for you. We're gonna take a person, we're gonna do something to them that causes their adrenaline to go through the roof, and not in a nice way. And then we are going to, in that heightened state, we are going to draw that from them, and then we're going to put that in our own bodies. And if you think of it as a vampire-like ritual, that's what the theory is. Can I say this is what they're doing? I can't. But these people that are doing this, do you think that is off the table? I don't think so. I want to read this to you, and this is a document that I found on blood magic. Blood magic, often regarded as one of the most potent and controversial forms of magic, has a rich and complex history that spans various cultures and epochs. I want to tell you that the origins of blood magic can be traced back to ancient civilizations where the life force represented by blood was believed to hold immense power. That is true, and a lot of religions believe that you have a life force in your... That's what the occult is that you have a life force within you. So they call it the chi, the prana, the kundalini. They call it, there's all different types of names for it, okay? It depends on which culture and which time in which they're talking about this life force. This is the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, Ephesians chapter number 2. The roots of blood magic can be traced back to ancient civilizations where the life force represented by blood was believed to hold immense power. In many cultures, blood was seen as sacred substance integral to rituals and offerings. The earliest record of blood magic can be found in ancient Egypt, where it was used in religious ceremonies to invoke the favor of the gods. Similarly, in Mesopotamia, blood was often used in rituals to ensure fertility and prosperity. Throughout history, various cultures have developed their own interpretations and practices of blood magic. In African traditions, for instance, blood is often used in rituals to connect with ancestors and spirits. The Yoruba people, for example, incorporated blood offerings in their religious practices to appease deities and seek guidance. In contrast, European folklore often depicted blood magic as dark and forbidden art. The medieval period saw the rise of witch hunts where practitioners of blood magic were often accused of malevolence and heresy. This led to a significant stigma surrounding blood magic, associating it with evil and danger. Let me also interject here as well that the Aztec civilizations in the Mexico and Yucatan Peninsula and all that type of stuff, the ones that the Spaniards, conquistadors, came across the ocean and conquered these people, they were practicing human sacrifices in which they believed that the victims were offered up to God, and the gods, and the ritual blood was viewed as nourishment for the gods. And the Spanish chroniclers, indigenous codices, and archaeological evidence from all this confirms that it all occurred. And Mayan elites would actually practice bloodletting rituals, and they framed these as necessary to maintain cosmic order. Also in the Roman world, and we're going to talk about some of this in 3rd Adam 5, the blood symbolism of the Mithraic cult was very common. And the cult of the Mithras is associated with the image of the bull being slain, known as the Taranoctony. In the cult of Sybil, there's evidence that the Tarabolium ritual, in which a bull was sacrificed and participants may have stood beneath the grate as blood poured over them, symbolizing purification or a Gnostic or occultic rebirth. That's very real history, folks. That's exactly what happened. In the Renaissance marked a turning point in the perception of blood magic with the revival of an interest in ancient texts and the occult. Scholars began to explore the esoteric aspects of blood magic. Figures like Paracelsus, I have a hard time saying his name, Paracelsus and Agrippa delved into the mystical properties of blood, linking it to alchemy and the human soul. This period saw a more nuanced understanding of blood magic, where it was not solely viewed as a tool for malevolence, but also as a means of personal empowerment and transformation. Now, Paracelsus is the man who created the homunculus, and Paracelsus and Agrippa were actually very big names in alchemy, and alchemy was coded language. And this is why, like, for example, Epstein's using coded language, but all alchemy was coded language. All alchemy was not chemistry. Alchemy was not anything about turning lead into gold. It was about trying to isolate the spirit energy substance from the human soul, so that they could contain that energy and put it into some sort of bottle so that they could drink it, so that they could become gods and live forever. The Adrenochrome theory has a lot of very strong similarities to ancient alchemy. Now you say this is insane. Yes, it is insane, but it's very real. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I'm a Baptist preacher. I know how this sounds. And I know the average Christian may be out there listening to me right now thinking, this is wild. Yeah, it is wild, but it's very real. People do this. And so I want you to know Paracelsus is the man who actually created the homunculus. And AI is actually the modern homunculus for the modern occult practitioner. In contemporary times, blood magic has experienced a resurgence, particularly within neo-pagan and Wiccan communities. Modern practitioners often view blood magic as a way to harness personal energy and connect with the divine. Rituals may involve use of blood from all different types of sources, emphasizing the importance of intention and respect for life. And so there's ethical implications for this, but I'm going to tell you that this is very real. This type of stuff is going on and has been going on for centuries. And when we type into these Epstein files and we see things like grape soda and pizza, what are we supposed to think? What are we supposed to think? Well, I mean, when I show you here in the Bible, and I'll pull it up for you, In Ephesians chapter 6 and verse number 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. I believe that verse. I believe what the Bible actually says when the Bible says that there is spiritual wickedness happening in very, very high places. To what depth? Well, I guess that's for you to decide. Are these people doing this, doing these crazy things? The Bible seems to indicate they are. Now, the details and all that, I can't tell you because these files are redacted. The things that they were into, it's hard to surmise because they use coded language. They did all of that. I mean, they kind of hid it in front of you. But don't you think for one second that the devil's not real. And don't you think for one second that human depravity has some sort of limit. And don't you think for one second that there's a bottom to the barrel of the wickedness of man. There is no bottom. It goes on forever. There are things that are happening and have happened that would horrify you. That's a fact. And that's what the Bible clearly teaches. If you appreciate this content, subscribe to this channel. And if this content was interesting or helpful to you, please consider smiting your like button. And we appreciate that very much. We pray that God would bless you and that you'd have a wonderful day.